Louisiana resumes executions with nitrogen gas. A descent into cruelty? Louisiana is poised to resume executions after a 15-year hiatus, armed with a controversial new nitrogen gas protocol. But is this a step towards justice, or a descent into a cruel and unusual punishment shrouded in secrecy? We delve into the legal, ethical, and historical context of this disturbing development. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Governor Jeff Landry declared an end to Louisiana's 15-year execution pause in February 2025. He cited the state's readiness to carry out executions using a newly adopted nitrogen gas protocol. Landry argued that the state had failed to uphold its promises to victims of violent crimes. Attorney General Liz Murrill voiced her strong support for resuming executions. This decision marks a significant shift in Louisiana's approach to capital punishment. The implications of this shift are far-reaching and demand critical scrutiny. The Louisiana legislature authorized nitrogen gas and electrocution as execution methods in March 2024. This decision mirrors Alabama's controversial use of nitrogen hypoxia. The legislature also adopted secrecy laws surrounding execution procedures and the sources of materials. These secrecy laws raise serious concerns about transparency and accountability. They effectively shield the execution process from public scrutiny. This lack of transparency makes it difficult to assess the humaneness and legality of the procedure. The nitrogen gas protocol involves fixing a mask onto the prisoner's face. This mask will replace the flow of oxygen with pure nitrogen. The prisoner is allowed a spiritual advisor during the process. Designated victim relationship witnesses and media representatives are permitted to view the execution. The publicly available summary of the protocol lacks crucial details. It is especially vague regarding pre-execution procedures. This limited information severely hinders inmates' ability to challenge the method in court. Kenneth Smith's execution in Alabama using nitrogen gas in January 2024 raised serious concerns. Witnesses reported a violent reaction despite assurances of rapid unconsciousness. Smith appeared to remain awake for several minutes after the nitrogen gas began flowing. Smith shook and writhed for at least 4 minutes. He continued to breathe heavily for another few minutes. Media witness Lee Hedgepeth described it as the most violent execution he had ever witnessed. Hedgepeth stated, "This was the 5th execution that I've witnessed in Alabama, and I have never seen such a violent reaction to an execution." This raises serious questions about the humaneness of the method. The potential for prolonged suffering cannot be ignored. Following Landry's announcement, district attorneys sought execution dates for several inmates. However, the execution warrant for Larry Roy was recalled due to unresolved post-conviction motions. A judge in 2004 had ordered the state to respond to concerns about undisclosed records. Cecilia Capel, director of the Loyola University Center for Social Justice, criticized the attempt to secure an execution warrant. She called it patently unlawful and emblematic of how reckless the state's plan to restart executions is. Despite this setback, D.A. Terrell indicated his intention to try again to set an execution date for Roy. An execution date was also requested for 81-year-old Christopher Sepulvado. Sepulvado suffers from serious medical ailments. He is wheelchair-bound and experiences frequent falls. His attorney argues that executing him serves no conceivable justice. Executing a frail and elderly man raises serious ethical questions. It challenges the very notion of justice and proportionality. An execution warrant was requested for Jesse Hoffman as well. His counsel cites his rehabilitation and positive influence within the prison. Hoffman had previously sued the state over execution method transparency. In 2012, Mr. Hoffman sued Louisiana, accusing the state of refusing to disclose how it intended to execute him. Attorneys are now seeking to reopen the case following the announcement of the new protocol. This highlights the ongoing struggle for transparency and accountability in Louisiana's execution practices. Louisiana's death penalty system has faced significant criticism. High rates of reverse sentences are due to misconduct, mental illness, trauma, or potential innocence. Over 84% of death sentences have been reversed for reasons such as prosecutorial misconduct. Many individuals on death row suffer from serious mental illness, trauma, or brain damage. 9 people have been freed from death row in Louisiana since 1999. Data indicates that 40% of those on death row have a documented intellectual disability. These statistics paint a disturbing picture of a flawed system. The risk of executing innocent or mentally impaired individuals is unacceptably high. This calls into question the very legitimacy of the death penalty in Louisiana. Major U.S. manufacturers of nitrogen gas have barred its use in executions. This raises ethical concerns about the state's ability to procure the gas. It also highlights the moral opposition to using nitrogen gas for capital punishment. The ethical implications of sourcing materials for executions cannot be ignored. Companies are increasingly unwilling to be complicit in a practice viewed as inhumane. This further isolates states that continue to pursue the death penalty. Louisiana's last execution occurred in 2010. It was the execution of Gerald Bordelon, who waived his appeals and volunteered for execution. This highlights the rarity of executions in Louisiana in recent years. The state's decision to resume executions after such a long pause is a significant departure from recent trends. It signals a renewed commitment to capital punishment, despite growing concerns about its fairness and morality. Louisiana's resumption of executions using nitrogen gas raises profound questions about justice, ethics, and human rights. The secrecy surrounding the protocol, the concerns raised by Alabama's execution, and the flaws within Louisiana's death penalty system all demand critical examination. Is this a step towards justice, or a descent into state-sanctioned cruelty? The answer, it seems, is far from clear. Call to action. We urge you to take action. Contact your Louisiana state representatives and demand transparency in the execution process. Advocate for a moratorium on executions until a thorough review of the death penalty system can be conducted. Support organizations working to reform the criminal justice system and protect the rights of the accused. Share this video to raise awareness and spark a national conversation about the ethics of capital punishment. Only through collective action can we ensure that justice is served fairly and humanely.